Welcome to the podcast about venture capital, where investors and founders alike can learn how VCs make decisions and reach conviction. Your host is Nick Moran, and this is The Full Ratchet.
Welcome back to The Full Ratchet. On today's special segment of Investor Stories, the investors address trends, sectors, and markets that they think are positioned for outsized returns in the future. This is the segment called What's Next? On today's special segment, we have Dayna Grayson and Rachel Holt of Construct Capital. Dayna and Rachel, can you talk about sectors or trends that you're bullish on?
Yeah, we're really bullish on what we call foundational industries at Construct. So some of the early areas of focus for us, manufacturing, supply chain and logistics, transportation and mobility. And I think what we've seen is just these spaces have been stuck in the past for quite a while. And there's a lot of, excitement from great entrepreneurs now that are looking to transform these sectors. And it's also an area that venture, I think, largely has ignored, right? So you'll see a lot less venture dollars go into these spaces than the scale of the GDP, than the opportunity coming out. And so when you see that historically, those tend to be really good places to invest. And so we're pretty excited about the opportunity in those three areas.
On today's special segment, we have Rob Go of NextView Ventures. Rob, can you talk about sectors or trends that you're bullish on?
There's a couple. One is we're doing a lot of work in senior care, and we're sort of surrounding the problem in a bunch of different ways, from like the health insurance side with Devoted Health, to financial caregiving through a company called Careful, to commerce through a company called Carewell. We're just surrounding this, and I think that's a super exciting market. There's a lot of dollars at stake. I think there's a huge human need that we're excited about, and I think great entrepreneurs are working on that area. So that's one. The other, I haven't really found a company in. It's the basic premise is like, we have a bunch of consumer companies. We, you guys do, everybody does. And everybody is so reliant on Facebook. And I just cannot imagine that's going to be the case in 5 years. I think that there's going to be, maybe it's going to be new platforms, but I think more likely there's going to be better tooling around creative development, measurement, and, ability to leverage other channels for marketers. And we just don't really know what that looks like yet. And not that many companies have actually figured out how to do it. And so I'm sort of looking for a solution there. I don't know if there is one, right? Like, is there a software-based business that does that? Or is it just going to be a world where marketing teams just have to be good and they just have to be more creative and more nimble than, in the past, where it was kind of like, okay, we're just going to do this performance marketing in a pretty well understood way. I feel like that world is kind of over.
On today's special segment, we have Jonathan Lehr of Workbench. Jonathan, can you talk about sectors or trends that you're bullish on?
So we talked a bunch about PLG earlier. We're spending a lot of time in that broad category. So how do you rethink sales, go-to-market, CRM, et cetera, type software? So we have a stealth company in the, broadly speaking, PLG CRM space. And where we're spending a lot of time on now is what my colleague Priyanka just wrote about, which is billing infrastructure for consumption-based pricing and billing. So how do you actually enable this capability and hypothesis testing for growing startups? So that's one area. We're looking in the security world. There's a lot going on around rethinking cloud first principles. So right now, where more and more companies are really feeling comfortable putting a lot of their data in AWS, Office 365, into Google. If everything's there, what changes about security paradigms in terms of data movement, in terms of really the ability to drive automated actions in a thoughtful way to support understaffed teams? So that's an area that we're looking at. And in the developer tools world, there's a bunch of categories that we're looking at. Everything from, there's a lot of cost management companies, but none have really cracked the nut yet on an area that we were diving into. Continuous profiling has emerged as a really interesting area. New areas and ways to do observability are things that we're spending time in, and a whole slew more. The cool part is that we tend to be pretty active bloggers on the Workbench blog. So any founders listening, check out areas we're looking at. And if it's something that you're building in, please reach out. And if we're not, tell us why we should be.
Is it difficult? I guess you have 3 partners and you've built out a team at this point, but is it difficult to maintain, expertise and clear thesis on each of these different categories?
So what's great is that we have a super collaborative team, but we each have our own swim lanes. So I tend to do more of the AI/ML and the data stuff. Kelly tends to do more of the security and also a lot of the DevOpsy stuff as they blend together. And Jess covers future of work. So together, while each of us has those swim lanes, we'll each help each other on diligencing opportunities, because there's no notion of like, this is this person's deal. We all win or lose together. So while someone has that expertise, it's always helpful to get insight into blind spots you might have, or just a different perspective from a colleague. So we'll always be meeting the companies together, if not for the first meeting, then for the second and for the third and things like that. And it makes things a lot of fun because you get to see a lot of different type companies and build your own expertise, but also see other stuff.
That will conclude this installment of Investor Stories. If you're enjoying the program and would like to see it continue, take a moment and leave a 5-star review in iTunes. Okay, that will wrap things up for today. Until next time, over-prepare, choose carefully, and invest confidently. Thanks for joining me.